Well, that's a pretty painting. Nice color choices, energetic brushwork, dynamic presence, smooth lighting, fulfilling composition, delves a little into my vulnerable side. An all-around nice viewing experience. You might say it's quite beautiful. But what does beautiful mean? Like, it has some spirit to it, some charm. It's not just sitting there, it's engaging you. Engaging me? There's like a meaning to it or something, I don't know. It has a presence, you might say. The point is, something inside of you is different because you looked at this. Something moved. Something is illuminated. The phenomenon of life feels slightly different now. Now there is something else that moves. A different set of values that illuminates something different in me. And life becomes a different phenomenon once again. Now a different value system once more, and something in me changes again, culminating in yet another adjustment to the phenomenon of life. What is that little thing that moves when I look inside of someone else's imagination? What is it that lights up? How do we study it? Is it worth attempting an answer to that ever-elusive question, what are people after all? As time goes on, are we getting closer, or are we getting further away? And are the people of the past so far behind us as we think? Take a visit to the monastery and listen to a lecture from Sandro Sebastian, the art monk. What do you have to do to be an artist? Well, only one thing, really. To make art and be an artist, there's only one thing you have to do. You have to believe in magic. That's it. That's the main qualification. If you know how to believe in magic, you can be an artist. Now, as far as making a living at art, that requires promoting yourself, booking gigs, venues, exhibitions, settling on a marketing strategy, condensing the nature of your work into small bite-sized samples and descriptions that can be given to strangers quickly, and developing the self-confidence to predict how your little inner world will play in a room full of strangers who don't know you or where you come from. You can't just walk into a room full of strangers and think, everyone will be so into me because I'm so into myself. Yeah, that strategy. If that were how it worked, we'd all be famous, as we're all pretty into ourselves, aren't we? And submitting your work to hundreds or maybe thousands of potential exhibitors and collaborators to see the vast majority of them ignore you, and all the while have no one cheering you on, and even your own family waiting for you to outgrow this phase. And even when one company or exhibitor or collaborator does finally get back to you, and you enlist their services and they yours, there is still a strong chance that it won't be a good fit, and they might fire you or you might leave them. Then the hunt starts all over again. Let's say you figured out how to promote yourself and get into the right circles and create art that is fashionable, and you can create a painting in 15 hours, maybe in 5 days, working 3 hours a day, and it sells for $15,000. $15,000 for 15 hours of work. That means that an artist of that caliber makes $1,000 an hour. Sounds like a sweet gig, right? Well, that $15,000 is not just for this one painting. It's for years of backbreaking labor just learning how to get good enough at painting that you can compete in a market against other painters, all of which have been pushing their content longer than you, in a room full of strangers where no one owes you any favors, and you owe no favors to them. It took years of work just to get into the discussion, and this is after maybe 6 years of constant trial and error with mediocre paintings you have stuffed in your attic that no one will ever see, 6 years where you were not getting paid, and learning how to promote your work in a room full of strangers who are not your mother, or relatives, or close friends, or teachers at school who are legally required to assist your growth simply because it's their job, making work that actually stands up on its own in a room full of strangers and competes professionally, that is another several years of skill building itself. So you can have enough exhibitions and or awards or degrees that make you look good on paper. When introducing yourself, That probably took like another 2 to 3 years. So between promoting the work after making it, it could be as many as 9 years total, all without getting paid a living wage for it. All this while you've been supporting yourself some other way part-time. Then having a chance to give a sales pitch to a wealthy collector, because selling art is not like opening a retail shop in a busy urban area, where you are selling things that everyone already needs, like technology, medicine, groceries, hardware and tools, or convenience store items, like toothbrushes and deodorant, soap and shampoo. You're not selling something that someone can just walk in off the street, pay at the register, and then leave. It's not like selling insurance or real estate, some practical item that we all need to make adult life work. No, it's art you're selling, whatever that stuff is. So you have to figure out how to turn this job into a job. That is literally what the job is. That's kind of how any job is a job. Figuring out how this job is this job. Job. No wonder the workplace is not for women and children. Whoever that mysterious other group of long-forgotten people is. Those who are neither women nor children. Okay, so when you get one of those mysterious long-forgotten people to sign a legal contract with the state, getting this union on paper, that's how marriage is marriage. Aha. So in other words, you feminists ruined marriage for no reason. Now I have to figure something else out until they bring back the real thing. In the meantime, you ladies enjoy being stranded with the weirdos we haven't caught yet. I think that modern-day women think that having my girlfriend move into my house is the same as being legally married. They'd say to me, "So, Sandro, when you are figuring something else out to replace marriage, couldn't you just have a live-in girlfriend?" No, that's not going to solve anything. There's no such thing as that kind of non-marital living arrangement between a man and a woman. That's just a predatory trick. I'm sorry. Whatever my improvised marriage alternative solution will be, it has to be based on what the marriage contract actually does, like legally, in our lives and in our society, and how it considers the way masculinity functions on paper. If you women knew what all that was, you wouldn't have rebelled against it in the first place. What does this have to do with being an artist, Sandro? Weren't we talking about that a minute ago? A man's career affects how he relates to women and how he can even approach them. Not to get too abstract on you. So, under that microscope, gender equality is a sketchy concept for that reason, ladies. My point here is not some sort of political debate about feminism and women in the workplace. I'm just trying to sell my product here and its uses, art and art theory, as I witness this problem in society getting worse. And no one has been able to find a way to solve it yet. How do you increase a person's ability to reach out with their imagination and consider the abstract side of life? The stuff that's not science or math, the part that gets at what are people after all? Is being human really what we think it is? And am I responsible for how my actions affect the people around me? When do we label someone as inappropriate? You have to decide. Anyway, there's my sales pitch for what I do. Think of it as an imagination workout, and how I invite you as the audience to listen along, but now back to the real-world logistics of a career in the arts. The interview question I invented for myself. The client to whom you are selling art is more likely someone you already know or have previous professional working relations with. Because if they are going to fork over a large sum of money, like $15,000, they are more likely to do it in installments, and you as the artist need to know they are good for it and that they will follow through on payments. So ask yourself, how likely are you to trust an installment payment plan with some random person who walked in off the street? And if you were not born into those wealthy circles, you have to work your way in there and suck up to people you can't stand, just because they have money. How long will that take? And you need time to get over the habit of looking for shortcuts that don't exist. In any given field, I swear to you, there are career graveyards filled with the hopes and dreams of people who wasted their lives looking for shortcuts that don't exist. All that time you spent looking for shortcuts, you could have been working, and you'd be there by now. Oops. So let's say you get your work together, your exhibition resume, your sales pitch, your client list, and it only took you 9 years of scrimping and saving, hustling and promoting, working part-time / freelance / living with your parents for an extended time, cramping your social life, and going into debt, and only after all that, you create a painting in 15 hours that sells for $15,000. That means you technically worked a job that paid $1,000 an hour. But that 15 grand is also compensating you for the last 9 years of unpaid labor, learning the trade and marketing yourself. Especially if you were not born into those wealthy circles and had to find your way there. So at that point, 15,000 actually seems kind of low. I'm going to need more than that. And by the way, someone paying 15,000 for an artist that's not already famous or already established, that's quite an investment, especially if you're an outsider. You know, they're investing in you hoping you blow up later and I can get a return on that initial 15 grand investment, which is not likely. I'm just using the number 15,000 as an example. You should probably charge like 4,000 to 5,000 if no one knows who you are, 7,000 tops. That might even be asking too much. To see it more clearly, just put yourself in the position of the client. Would you pay that much for a first-time artist? So the point is, it's not a good gig. It's just not practical. Regardless of your level of talent and commitment to marketing yourself, this isn't really how the adult world works. Even if you get lucky, you have to think about your self-esteem and overall mental health. Can you even make this socially acceptable? Even if an artist person is already born into those circles where you have lots of money to begin with, like Paul Cézanne, the famous post-impressionist, who had a father who was a wealthy banker, or Toulouse-Lautrec, who was descended from the French aristocracy, or Lucien Freud, the grandson of Sigmund Freud, who was able to live off his grandfather's royalties. Having the money frees up your schedule so you can work on art, but you still have to work on the art. It doesn't create itself, and all the trial and error process of promoting yourself still takes time. Even if you have wealthy connections that can put you on display and get you to the front of the line, which is helpful, there is still no guarantee that anyone will like your work. Money doesn't make your dweeby little inner world more appealing to a room full of strangers who are not your mother or the teachers at school. If you don't believe me, just go to art school and look at those students' work. Tell me if this is going anywhere. There's no need for a newly started piece to have all the chiseled, highly resolved details of a Michelangelo sculpture. No need to stress yourself over every last inch when you're brainstorming. Let's take a look at a fresh idea, off the top of the head, and feel the intimidation lessen. I must also quite highly recommend a pastime that doesn't require the use of technology, nothing electronic, digital, or internet-based. Nothing needs to plug in and charge up. The unplugged feeling in this day and age feels kind of rebellious for people my age and younger. Kind of sticking it to the man in a 21st century way. No one can hack into a painting. When searching for something, the key is to lose the fear of quote-unquote messing it up. Why are you afraid of messing it up? Because it was such a masterpiece anyway? Lose the ego. Adjusting the posture certainly is not against the rules either. Remember, it's easier to move from general to specific. Adjustments are easier when there aren't so many details to be bothered with. I don't like this pose. Maybe a bit too slothful. Kind of open towards us in a lazy, unsophisticated way. Even if I enjoy the benefit of her limbs, I want to try something tighter. Sit upright and face opposite, maybe? 3/4 view is traditional. Let's try in profile. No, the other way. Pardon me. A 180 turn. Or maybe I made you swing too far. Stay like that, but extend the legs. Uncross them? Still need something more unexpected. Rhythm's too steady. Break it somewhere. Cross at just the ankles. If I'm mostly satisfied with this pose, knowing we can change it later, let's improvise some colors. And don't panic, we can always turn the knob on them later. Where you start doesn't matter. A teacher I had once said, start with whatever's most important. I'm filling in the shirt. Seems central. Largest unbroken plane of color. Easy access point. And maybe I could darken the hair. Don't worry, man. It's not going to turn you gay. It's not like acting. No, I'm kidding. It's okay. Don't panic. It's just a personality. It's not going to kill you. I'm kidding. I love actors. When I need someone to beg an audience to notice how cute I am and call it art, they are the first ones I think of. I don't know if I like the legs positioned like so anymore. I'll alter the color of these trousers, but let's adjust them first. I'm picturing maybe one heel on the platform, bended at the knee, like raised up, yeah. Maybe lean upward, clasp hands around the knee, pulling close. Arms now hanging. Meh. Now you're all squished into the center. I miss the lounging feeling of a draped figure. Oh, okay, we can split the difference, I suppose. Good idea. Thanks for the input. The shirt might change later, but now we've got the legs in a more interesting pose. Let's decide on a color for her trousers. Something I don't see coming. If it clashes a bit at first, don't sweat it. We're just keeping ourselves on our toes. And always there's the challenge of making a woman look like she was dressed by a woman, not a man. Give it some credibility. How you get good at this is the same way you get good at anything. By doing a bunch of crappy ones in a row until you start to notice patterns and get more confident. I don't think any human person on the planet can resist seeing another human's raw, improvised, unrefined, off-the-top-of-the-head creative impulse, making decisions in real time right in front of us. Quite the intimate look. It's adorable to see how childlike it is. It's so vulnerable. Permanently primitive, some label it, especially in a grown adult man. The people whose very reality is defined by all things professional, mechanical, and practical. My utility is the most important thing to the people around me, and mostly how people notice me. See? He's not so scary once you get to know him. Oh, and I should like to darken the skin tone a shade. I'm feeling a shift in seriousness with that more heavy, somber brown. Less jokey, less cartoony, more dramatic, pensive. Ah, my dear, none but you. And remember, when you're trying to decide whether or not it's finished, or whether or not this does it for you, the answer is either yes or no. If the answer is I can't tell, then that's the same as no. Keep making adjustments until it's a yes, and then push it through to a hell yes. And if we'd like, now's a moment where we decide on a background color, and give the clothed figure something to interact with. Let's bring this tarp, this blanket, or whatever it is, into the discussion. We're just giving it some more personality, more dynamism. Make it more engaging. But a man watching and struggling with his own work might ask, "You are asking me to make picture more dynamic, Sandro Sebastian. To give dynamism, but I am not understanding what you are meaning by this. How do I do that? Give more dynamism. Make more dramatic. Because apparently he's Russian. I don't know why. Just thought the video could use a little flavor. After all, why can't he be Russian? It's my hypothetical person. No, Sandro, because painting takes patience. You can't be Russian. See what I did there? Ugh. He's just like this. I don't know. But he makes good paintings, though, so we just kind of tolerate it. But to answer the question of how to increase the intensity, the only answer I can provide is to imagine what it will look like when it's more intense, and then paint that. When it speaks that greater volume, when it's more dramatic, what will it look like, then project that onto the canvas and paint that. It's just a matter of having the guts to trust your imagination. I might be overexerting myself in recommending another pose change. But is her leg posture starting to look too obvious? Maybe raise your left leg and place heel, flat-footed, on the side nearest us? I'm trying too hard now. I just needed something that breaks the rhythm. Ooh, yes, lovely move. This way we can take in your face fully. I like the suggestion, my dear. And I'm seeing we're pretty much back where we started, pose-wise, but at least it's now more a sense of being arrived at. The journey enhances it. Now that large areas of basic information are set, I don't mind filling in details. She's not moving from here, so let's get this gal an identity already. You really can't find a substitute for light raking across the human face. The unique mounds and masses revealed across that landscape of skull and skin. It's instantly recognizable. The shapes it casts, defining features. You'd be surprised how easily you can memorize it, don't worry. You can see the thrill of it is you getting to make your own rules. The only absolute rule is, don't break your own rules. Because then what's the point? And remember that your rules don't need to make logical sense, just emotional sense. That is what feelings are for anyhow, to deal with the side of life that is not logical. It's not there until it's there. Patience is key. And at long last, it's nice to finally meet you, my dear. I appreciate your patience with me so far, taking the time to let an amateur figure out what he's looking for here. And with hair, you never want to neglect it. Let's pull it into the light source, especially if it's black. Give it some shine, some value. Make sure we don't suck up the light and deaden the painting, and get the shirt into the fray on top of it. Let light slither down, slide down, tumble through, however you like, so masses and mounds start creating the music they create. I keep questioning if this pinky peach tone of the pants is believable. My own taste in fashion doesn't run light and bubblegum like this, but that's not what's important here. As a painting, is the music working? I need to start using more unexpected colors. Catching yourself off guard is the best way to keep yourself on your toes. It's kinda muddy at this point, but I'll clean it up in a minute. I'm interested in turning the knob on the shirt now. It's a lovely blue, but maybe I could get edgier, take a risk. Maybe darken it? Or gray it down? Well, how about a curveball? Light-colored long sleeves. Ooh, she's agreeing, I think. Like she's got a choice. Is she this sort of woman? The long sleeve look matches the attitude of her short bob-type hair, I think. It's casual, cool. But now I sound like a commercial for a department store. Long sleeve shirts on sale now until the end of January. Enjoy your look this winter. There's some kind of iciness with this top. It almost falls flat and feels flavorless. The icy blue milky white of the sleeves. A foggy coldness that I believe is worth it. But it might be my ego not wanting to admit that it isn't doing it. But you know, trying things that don't work is still good exercise for loosening up the imagination. And as you can see, I still haven't made up my mind about these pants. The peach color, maybe I'm wanting a shade darker to contrast the sleeves more, but I run the risk of just making it muddier. I'll get there, don't worry. Do I even want this pink peach color? Is it weird against the green? Forget it. I'm taking a step backward here. Make it even darker, like dark gray, almost black. I'm jumping ship. A quick pants length adjustment. Fashion choice. Some work on the ankles so that they don't get lost in there. Showing a little more skin, but we're respecting the young lady's dignity here. She's been a good sport up until now. Make the edges cleaner. I'm thinking just now, along with bright sleeves, let's go bright shoes too. I can resurrect the pinky peach, give it another shot here. Maybe it can help us out after all. Fuck these pants. I still can't decide what I want them to do. The pink shoes somehow change the rules on me. Like, because the shoes have more hue to them, more color conscious, maybe I feel the pants need some more hue to them too? They don't need to be lighter, just less gray. More color-coded. Ay, ay, ay. Let's do some chiseling now. Refine edges so we aren't frustrated when looking at it. More clean-shaven. I'll be fumbling with these colors a while, searching for a point. The miracle of art is that even with its lack of ability to feed you, house you, or solve your life's problems, and provide no practical benefit to the world, it can make the world a less scary place in the meantime, and that is not insignificant. I find its most powerful effect is making you feel like not giving up. Like it's not over yet. There's still some magic left. It reminds you that anything is still possible. We're not through yet, just you wait. Hard to put a price on that feeling. I am feeling myself craving a bit of a change here. Maybe let's finally open up the face, brush her hair out of the way. Well, hello, my dear. There you are. And that hairdo was only temporary, you can tell. It was just easier to move in the animation. But let's adjust the shape here. Oh, yes, Mommy, please. Daddy like this. Wow, her character totally changes with this. Have you ever heard someone ask you, how do I paint, or how do I draw? It really is the oddest question a person can ask. That's like asking, how do I fall in love? Have you ever heard someone ask that? Of course not. You don't need to be taught how to fall in love, you just do it. Something has seduced you. It happened independent of your will. That's why it's called being seduced. Saying you don't know what to paint is like saying you don't know what seduces you, which is like, how do you not know? What have you been doing all these years? So if you're going to compose something, do what I do. Think of your favorite thing, favorite work of art, piece of music, favorite person, favorite childhood memory, favorite movie, favorite place to go, anything that seduces you and makes life better. Then freeze that emotion in your gut and feel it move up your body to your shoulder, and then travel down your arm to your fingertips and finally exit the tip of the brush to sit on the canvas staring back at you. That memory of a favorite activity, favorite song, favorite person, whatever rush it is that boosts your spirits, if that spirited, boosted feeling were to take shape as a smear of paint on the surface, how would it look, looking back at you in the physical world? Where do we draw the line between the emotional side of humanity and the physical side anyway? There isn't a doubt of our emotional side affecting the physical side. It's practically a science. When you feel sorrow, you shed physical tears. When something absurd or ironic occurs, you laugh. When feeling nervous, anxious, or frightened, your heart rate increases. If something vile or grotesque is presented to you, it might inspire a feeling of physical nausea, causing you to vomit. There isn't any reason not to believe that our emotions affect our physical being. The evidence is overwhelming. So the question becomes, at what point does the crossover occur? When does the comical, absurd, tickling emotion of a punchline cause the diaphragm to move and create laughter? When does the despair, melancholy, or tragic emotion physically become tears on your face? Why does hearing catchy music make you want to dance? You hear an irresistible melody and for some reason it needs movement along with it to satisfy. You have to bounce to the beat and move your arms and legs. Something isn't right until you do. When does the emotion cross over into physical action? Perhaps art is a study of that science. If you took just the emotion and smeared it on a surface, imagine what it would look like staring back at you.